Hello, friends. If your only income is the state pension and you have spent years quietly assuming that puts you just outside any extra help, stick with me for the next few minutes. Because what I am about to walk through could genuinely change how you see your own situation. Here's the thing almost nobody explains properly. The full new state pension is now £241 and 30 pence a week. The pension credit threshold for a single pensioner is £238 a week. On paper, that looks like you are over the line by a few pounds. And so, plenty of people stop right there and assume the door is closed. According to the official pension credit guidance on the government's website, that is not actually how the calculation works. And getting this wrong is one of the most common reasons people quietly write themselves off from help they could genuinely get. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how that threshold calculation really works, why your state pension number alone does not decide it, and what to check before you assume the answer is no. Quick context. This is for UK pensioners checking where they really stand, not personal advice. And no specific payment is promised. Figures come from the official pension credit guidance, the official attendance allowance guidance, and citizens' advice. For your own case, check the official guidance or talk to citizens' advice or a licensed advisor. Now let us get into it. Let us start with the one that catches the most people off guard. I have gone through the current rules and the 2026 to 2027 rates as confirmed by the government, and there are 5 things in this system that trip people up again and again. Not because anyone is hiding anything, but because the rules genuinely are confusing. These figures change every year, sometimes more than once. If you want to know when they shift, subscribing means you hear about it from me before you find out the hard way. Quick question before we start. Have you ever actually run the numbers properly? Or did you just assume you were over the line? Tell me in the comments. Number 5, national insurance gaps. The full new state pension is £241 and 30 pence a week, but only if you have 35 qualifying years on your national insurance record. Fewer years means a permanently lower payment, and that lower payment follows you for the rest of your life. The frustrating part is that most people never find out they have a gap until it is already too late to fix it cheaply. A few years working part-time, a stretch of self-employment where contributions slipped, even time spent caring for a family member without the right credits being applied. Any of these can leave a hole in the record that nobody ever pointed out to you. According to the official pension credit guidance, this is worth checking through your personal tax account, because some gaps can still be filled voluntarily, and even a small top-up adds to your state pension for life, with every future increase applied on top of that higher base. It only takes a few minutes to look. And it is one of the only checks on this entire list that costs you nothing to do. Have you ever actually pulled up your own national insurance record to check? Or is it one of those things you have been meaning to get round to? Number 3, council tax reduction. If you receive the guarantee credit, part of pension credit, you will almost always qualify for a full reduction on your council tax bill. If you do not receive pension credit, but have a low income and modest savings, a partial reduction is still common. According to citizens' advice, very few eligible pensioners actually claim this, mainly because councils do not proactively check your entitlement. They send the bill and wait for you to ask. If this applies to you, write this down. Search your own local council's name together with council tax reduction, and ask specifically whether backdating applies to your case. This is where I want to tell you about Margaret. Margaret is 71, lives in Yorkshire, and worked for years as a shop assistant before finally retiring on a modest budget. Her case is an illustrative example rather than a verified individual story, but it reflects exactly the kind of mix-up that happens constantly. And you may well recognize something of your own situation in it. Margaret assumed her £241 state pension put her safely over the pension credit threshold. So she never checked, not once in all the years since she retired. She had heard the figures on television, done the simple subtraction in her head, and quietly closed the door on the idea of ever claiming anything. When she finally sat down and ran the numbers through the official Social Security website calculator, almost as an afterthought, her actual countable income worked out lower than she expected. Once a small housing cost was accounted for, and she qualified for a small amount of guarantee credit. It was not a life-changing sum on its own, but that small award then automatically triggered a full council tax reduction, which mattered far more to her budget than the guarantee credit itself. The lesson here is not that everyone will qualify, because plenty of people genuinely will not. And that is simply how a means-tested system works. The lesson is that the headline number on its own does not tell you the answer. And assuming it does, is the single most common reason people like Margaret go years without checking. Number 1, and this is the one that actually answers the question we opened with. The pension credit threshold is £238 a week for a single pensioner and £363.25 a week for a couple. According to the official pension credit guidance on the government's website, your full state pension can sit just above that line and you can still end up qualifying, because the calculation is not just your state pension. Certain income does not count toward that total at all. Attendance allowance, personal independence payment, and housing benefit are excluded entirely from the comparison. Savings under £10,000 are ignored completely, regardless of whether you own your home outright, having a disability, caring for someone, or having certain housing costs can raise the effective threshold you are being measured against, sometimes by a meaningful amount. This is exactly why a flat comparison between your state pension and the headline threshold can mislead you in either direction. Someone with a small private pension on top of the state pension might assume they are comfortably over the line and never check, when an exclusion or an addition could have brought them back under it. Someone else might assume they are nowhere close, when in fact they are only a few pounds away. So the honest answer to the confusion most people have is this. Being a little over the headline figure tells you almost nothing on its own, and treating it as a final answer is exactly how years of eligibility quietly slip by unnoticed. The only way to know for certain is to run your actual numbers through the official calculator, because the gap between what you assume and what is actually true is exactly where people lose access to help for years without ever realizing it. Number 4. Attendance allowance. According to the official attendance allowance guidance, this pays £76.70 a week at the lower rate or £114.60 a week at the higher rate. And it is not means tested at all. Your savings, your income, whether you own your home, none of it matters. What matters is whether a physical or mental health condition means you need help with personal care or supervision for at least 6 months. You do not need to already have a carer to qualify. One important clarification, because this comes up constantly. If you are already receiving personal independence payment when you reach state pension age, you continue receiving that payment, you do not move across to attendance allowance. And you cannot claim both at the same time. That is not a loophole being hidden from you. It is simply how the two systems are designed to fit together. Number 2, the carer's underlying entitlement. If you care for a partner for 35 hours a week or more, carer's allowance itself often gets blocked because your state pension already exceeds the carer's allowance rate. According to the official pension credit guidance, applying anyway matters, because even a refusal confirms something called underlying entitlement. Official recognition that you meet the caring criteria. That underlying entitlement can then unlock a separate carer's addition within pension credit, currently worth £48.15 a week. People who never apply because they assume a refusal means nothing never get that confirmation. And without it, that addition never arrives. So here is the connection that ties all 5 together, and the loop we opened with at the very start. None of these 5 things are decided by your state pension number on its own. Pension Credit Council tax reduction, the carer's addition. All of them depend on your actual countable income against a threshold that excludes certain other benefits and protects your savings up to £10,000. If you have ever looked at your state pension and concluded you are just over the line, that conclusion might be wrong, and the official calculator is the only way to know for certain. It takes a few minutes, it costs nothing, and for some people it is the difference between years of paying a full council tax bill and years of paying a reduced one, simply because nobody ever sat down and checked the actual sum properly. So to recap, descending. Number 5, check your national insurance record for gaps. Number 4, attendance allowance is not means tested and does not overlap with personal independence payment. Number 3, Council tax reduction is rarely checked automatically. Number 2, a carer's refusal can still unlock an underlying entitlement. Number 1, your pension credit threshold is not just your state pension. It is your actual countable income, and that is worth checking properly. 3 things to do this week. Check your own numbers through the official pension credit calculator on the government's website. Even if you think you are over the line and have always assumed the answer is no, check your national insurance record through your personal tax account. And if any of this touches your specific situation, speak to Citizens Advice or a licensed advisor who can look at your full circumstances, because nothing in this video replaces that. If you know someone on the state pension who has never actually checked their own numbers properly, share this with them today. It might be the 5 minutes that changes what they are entitled to. Next time, I want to look at how these rules change if you live abroad or in Northern Ireland, because that question keeps coming up in the comments, and it deserves its own proper answer rather than a quick aside. Subscribe so you do not miss it, and so you hear about any rate changes before they catch you off guard.